Hello and welcome to the programme which looks at the Holy Land. I am Paul Calvert. Psalm 90 verse 1 from the New King James Bible says this: Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. I'm with Tricia Miller from the Committee of Accuracy in Middle East Reporting. Now, Tricia, you're here in Israel. Tell us about your trip here to Israel.
Well, thank you for having me, Paul. I came to join an Eagle's Wings mission. There were 115 women, leaders, pastors who came to stand with Israel, so that's what brought me here, but now I'm here through this war.
So you came, and what did you even expect that there'd be war happening while you came here in Israel?
Yes, actually I did. Everybody knew it was a possibility, but I really thought it was going to happen now for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the connection, the spiritual connections between Iran, ancient Persia, and Israel, the Jewish people, and the fact that something was probably going to happen this week for Purim. That's really what I thought would happen.
So when are you supposed to be going home?
I'm scheduled to go home on March 15th. So far, I haven't tried to find any other way out because there isn't really any unless you take a bus to Egypt. So I'm staying, and it's been a very important thing for me to experience, to be able to share it with people who have no idea really what's going on here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How important is it just to be here during this time? You write about the Committee of Accuracy in Middle East Reporting, so you're actually living what Israelis go through every single day.
Yes, I am, and it's tiring. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. It's tiring when alarms go off and you have to go to a bomb shelter, but I'm not afraid. I don't feel fear. I think our forces are doing a fantastic job taking out the launching sites, etc. But it's important for me to be here to know what people live with every day. That Israelis have been living with this for years and years, really.
How many times have you been down to the bomb shelter since you've been here?
I lost track. The first day, I was still with the group. We were in the Galilee, and it was probably about 15 times, but we kind of lost track. But then, that was the first day, Saturday, when the war started. Then every day since then, it's been much less. It's been decreasing.
Tell us about the women's conference that you were at.
It was a tour. It was supposed to be a tour of Israel. Many of the women who came hadn't been to Israel before. So it was going to a lot of the important Christian sites, first in the Galilee, and then we were supposed to come to Jerusalem. But the war broke out, and they all took buses to Egypt to leave, and there's one other woman, and I decided to come here to the hotel we were supposed to be at in Jerusalem.
You're with the Committee for Accuracy in Middle East Reporting. Has there been good reporting on this war between Israel and Iran?
No, not in general. The Western media tends to sensationalize certain things and completely ignore other things. So no, there has not been good coverage at all. There's been a lot of coverage about some girls' school in Iran that got bombed, and that's tragic, but I don't think we even know actually who really bombed it. But there was no coverage of the demonstrations or of the tens of thousands of Iranians who have been killed by that regime because they dared to raise a voice on the street. There's no outcry about what happens to women in Iran. Nothing. So there's just totally biased coverage.
So this issue with the school, are the media just believing what Iran tell them and that's it?
Yes, the media takes Iran's word for it, just like they have done with Hamas ever since October 7th. If Hamas says something, they quote that. That's what they're doing.
What other stories have they been misrepresenting as well?
I think just the whole purpose of the war, that is being misrepresented. The fact that this regime for 47 years has cried out death to America and death to Israel every day for 47 years, and the fact that they wanted nuclear weapons and they have all these ballistic missiles to attack Israel first and then the West and America, that's totally ignored. And what's being focused on now by the media is, well, is this legal? These questions are being raised. Was it legal for the U.S. to do this or whatever? This is a defensive war. This is Israel and the United States uniting to take out threats to both of our countries.
As a Christian, did this war need to happen? We're supposed to be peace-loving.
Yes, I know, but I'm going to go back to my focus on Esther. And the story of Esther has direct parallel to what's going on now. In the story of Esther, 2,500 years ago, the Jews were allowed to defend themselves against people who intended to kill them. And if nobody had attacked them, nobody would have died. The same thing is happening now. Iran's regime, not the Iranian people, but the regime had stated their intent to destroy Israel and then the United States. So all Israel and the United States are doing is taking out those weapons. They're not attacking the people of Iran. They're taking out the weapons and the means for the regime to use to attack.
And yet Iran are attacking the civilians here in Israel.
Yes, all the missiles are directed at civilian sites. This regime has killed Iranian civilians. We don't even know the numbers yet, but it's at least 50,000. Some people have even said as many as 100,000. We don't really know until the regime's not in control anymore. We won't be able to verify, but they were shooting demonstrators, unarmed demonstrators on the street who were out there just to protest the regime because they're tired of the oppression and the lack of any provision, the economy, everything in Iran.
How significant do you think this is, that it's actually happened over the time of Purim?
That is what is so significant, and that's why I was actually excited to be here and why I thought something would happen. But what none of us could have known, the war started on Saturday morning, our time, here in Israel, and Khomeini and 40 of the main leaders were taken out. They were all together for a meeting. They were not expecting Israel, usually bombs at night. They weren't expecting something to start at 8:30, something like that. It was 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. They weren't expecting that. They were all together physically, and Israel had the intelligence, and when they were able to take them out, well, that was Shabbat. It was the Shabbat where the Jewish people around the world read the passage about remember what Amalek did to you. It's the Shabbat right before Purim. And so they were reading this in synagogues around the world about how their enemy was to be taken out, and the enemy was taken out before Purim.
Well, what did you and what did the women think when you first heard the news that actually war has just broken out?
It was actually, there were mixed reactions. You know, some people were fearful, but by and large, everybody understood this has to happen. We can't keep living, the whole world can't keep living under the threat of this radical Islamist regime that is guided by these, it's a spiritual, their spiritual beliefs, their religious beliefs, that they really need to take over the world. And no, we can't keep living with that.
Have you been out on the streets in Jerusalem? What's the streets like at the moment? And have Jews actually still been celebrating Purim on the streets?
Yes, they have. Yes, I've seen lots of people in costumes. The gatherings are smaller. The Home Front Command has said, gatherings should be smaller. But there's people out on the streets. Israelis love life. Israelis go out.
So does this prove the resilience of the Jewish people?
Yes, it certainly does. I have seen tremendous resilience and just an acceptance of this. But more than that, what I've heard from Israelis since I've been here, but also I was in Nashville, Tennessee, the week before I came to Israel at 2 different conferences where there were a lot of Israelis. Without exception, every Israeli expressed that they are willing to go through this. They know it needs to happen. They are willing to have to go to bomb shelters. They're willing to go through this if it means the Iranian people can be free.
And that's it, actually, at the end of the day. We lost 9 people in Beersheba, but their lives have been sacrificed to actually free the Iranian people.
Yes. And so that's just a beautiful example of loving your neighbor as yourself. That's the heart of the Jewish people that I know. That's the heart of Israel that I know, that they are willing to go through this for the Iranian people to be able to be free.
How long do you think this war will last? And do you know when you're going to be able to get a flight back out of here?
Well, no, I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be long. There'll start to be some flights. I don't think the war will be that long. If everything that the Americans and the Israelis are saying is the war is actually going very well and is ahead of schedule. And they're saying things like just a couple weeks.
What is your prayer for Israel at this time as they go through war?
For peace and for strength for the people, for just continued resilience, and that they would be protected, that all the civilians would be protected, that all the fighting, everybody in the IDF would be protected, and that for the Americans too, for the American military, and safety for the Iranian people.
What's your website for people who'd like to know more about the work that you do correcting the media?
It's www.camera.org.
Well, Tricia, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. Pray that God will move by his mighty power in the Holy Land and bring his peace.